Hey, Jules Bless Vegan, and welcome. Did I ever mention I'm a compulsive overeater? Maybe just a little. Oh my gosh, but you can be a compulsive overeater and even a recovering one, but you don't have to act on it. It's just an awareness about yourself, right? And that's my truth right now. But check it out. It was the best. I was totally freaking out at school. My principals met with me this morning to give me feedback on my lesson. And I ended up getting 2 P's, which are in progress rather than mastery. But all the rest were mastery, which anyone would be thrilled about. But for those 2 P's, I overanalyzed them to death. I started berating myself about how I could have done this, could have done that, should have done this, should have done that, shoulding on myself, right? The whole thing, total nightmare. And by the end of the day, I hadn't eaten all of my food that I had planned. I didn't get ahead of the hunger curve with my snack. And by the time I got to my car, I was already making a horrific plan of where I was going to stop. And I don't want to say what the food is because I don't want to provoke anybody, but there's this specific food. And I just had a plan to go eat that. And I went ahead and thought, I can't do an outreach call. I certainly can't do a 12-step meeting, but what if I just go on Instagram and say, hey peeps, I'm struggling. Oh my goodness. A flood of support in real time just came flooding at me. And I was really struggling, right? And I was like, my husband won't know what money I spent. I can fake it this way, fake it that way. I'll make sure I get rid of the evidence. I mean, like the whole thing. And then God was like, I got to send out the Top Gun. And all of a sudden, Danny Ross showed up. Ah! God bless Danny Raw. She is my unofficial self-appointed mentor. I appointed her to myself. I use her for myself, whether she's aware or not, because I just think every word she speaks in every video she's ever made was directly to me. So all of a sudden, Danny Raw comes on. I'm like, wait, what? How am I getting, how is Danny Raw tapping into this? Like, she should be asleep by now. I'm supposed to be able to effectively binge if I want. Oh my gosh. It was hilarious. So I joke about you guys using Tannyisms with your moment for moment equals momentum and all that. No one does Tannyisms like Tanny Raw. That girl was whipping them out. And I was just like, okay, I won't. Oh my gosh. But what was funny was, and I didn't even recognize it, she used the Jules Blessed veganism by putting my own words in my mouth saying, have you considered HALT? Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? And I was like, oh, that's right. All those tools I preach about. Yeah, how about if you breathe a minute? How about if you do hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? So I calmed down, I took my time, I stayed on the road, and luckily I still had that uneaten food, so I had that whole, green box of vegetables. I had a beautiful apple, and I ate that on my way home. And Tanny had said, when you get home, why don't you take a moment, maybe have some tea, take a moment and see how you triumphed over this moment, this difficult moment. And of course, when I got home, I hit the ground running with all of my animals, all my dogs and horses and pig and bird and everybody. But I did ponder that because I was like, God is so merciful. And when I rely on food as my source of strength and comfort, I'm denying God's grace. And I cannot be hanging out there. So anyway, thanks to the whole Instagram community that stepped up for me, for Tanny Raw, who, seriously, if that girl was getting ready for bed, I don't know how she just chimed in, and I made it all the way home safely and in grace, and just rejoicing to no end that, just like I said yesterday on my video, 10% what happens to us, 90% what we do with it, and eating toxic waste is not going to ease my burden. And those principles were fair, largely. one of their comments I had no control over, it was student stuff. And they implied my classroom wasn't safe for students to share in, and that was unfortunate. Just students, jumping each other with criticisms and stuff. I don't think that was on me. But the other one where it said, tighten up your lesson plan, make sure you have your objective more clear, that was fair. That was totally fair. And I need to just accept it, do what I can with it, and move forward. I think I've just been struggling because it's my 25th year of teaching, and even more than that, because for 5 years before that I was doing preschool. I know, I'm 2 years younger than God, don't do the math. But I think it's just, I need to just, I don't know. I don't want to say reevaluate, because I'm called to teach and I love it. But I need some fresh tools and some new confidence that I lost over those 9 years with that abusive principal. So it's just an interesting transition right now, as is my weight loss. And that was another kind of mistake I made. I had weighed myself. And when I weigh myself, even if it's good, and it was, I'd lost, 6 pounds or whatever, it still freaks me out. And my thought is to bury myself in food. So there's a couple of triggers there, but so what? I've got a great community of support. I love that Instagram response. I love you guys on Jules Blessed Vegan YouTube. And I love that God knocks on doors and gets me the resources I need in the moment. I know they say heaven's on a different time, but I barely notice it, because it seems like every time I say, yo Lord, what's up? He says, Jules, what do you need, girl? Wait, you didn't know that Jesus talked like that? All right, my friends, happy Friday. I'm making good food choices. And until we talk again, as always, my friends, be blessed.